Joining us, the National Transportation Safety Board has taken over the investigation of Wednesday's fatal plane crash in OKTIBEHHA County.
West Point businessman Gary Dedeaux and his grandson Luke Reed died in the crash. An NTSB spokesperson says the agency is considering different factors: weather conditions, health records of the victims, and mechanical issues. None of these facts, however, will be considered the cause of the crash at this time. When the plane is removed from the crash site, it may be taken to a different site for more examination. It will take around 1 to 2 years before a cause of the plane crash is determined.
As you might imagine, shock and mourning continue across the Golden Triangle today after the death of Gary Dedeaux and his grandson Luke, again in that accident, that plane crash yesterday. The
65-year-old Dedeaux was the owner of Gary's Pawn and Gun and served as a West Point selectman from 2013 to 17. WCBI's Stephen Pimpo talks with some of his closest friends and colleagues today who say he was so much more. Stephen joins us now live in the studio with the story.
Andrea, Joey, thank you. Musician Paul Williams once wrote, "If you want to know the measure of a man, you simply count his friends." Well, Gary Dedeaux had a lot of friends, and not just here in the Golden Triangle. The ones I spoke with today all said they just can't believe he's gone.
Was as sharing and caring about his fellow man as anybody I've ever known.
Grief and confusion gripped the town of West Point yesterday after a plane crash claimed the life of 65-year-old Gary Dedeaux and his grandson, Luke Reed.
When I heard the news yesterday, I was with my 9-year-old grandson. I was babysitting him, just taking him fishing. And boy, I felt that angst in my heart.
Former West Point Mayor Robbie Robinson says he'd known Dedeaux for more than 50 years, spending 4 working alongside him when Dedeaux served as a city selectman from 2013 to 2017.
He was loyal to his family, he was loyal to his community, and loyal to his business. Just a wonderful man. Going to be terribly, terribly missed. I still find it hard to talk about it.
Less than 24 hours after the plane crash, the FAA and NTSB are on scene trying to figure out what happened during that flight that cost Gary and his grandson Luke their lives.
I know that he was flying when I met him, and he had aircraft when I met him, so I would say probably 30 or more years, a long time.
West Point Chief Operating Officer Randy Jones had been Dedeaux's friend for over 20 years.
I think he was the #1 dealer for Ruger firearms in the world. Not just Mississippi, not just Clay County.
Likely best known as the owner of Gary's Pawn and Gun, Jones says his influence goes far beyond that.
I'm talking about hundreds of thousands, literally.
Jones and Robinson say Dedeaux never failed to share his wealth and success with others, donating to community organizations constantly. Robinson says the last time he saw his friend Gary, it was to ask him about a watch he'd bought from him years ago.
A very good watch, and I was having trouble with it. Took it back to Gary, the week before last, and he had it repaired. Called me. He wasn't there to give it to me, but he was always of service.
I would personally say to Gary, if I could, thank you, sir, for all of your good deeds. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment to your community.
Now, we did get the family's permission and blessing to show that final shot of Gary taking off. All 3 men told me their hearts go out to Gary and Luke's family and want them to know that the entire city of West Point is mourning with them.